Welcome to Strangers and Pilgrims. This is a UK-based Christian podcast to encourage the saints in the days of our pilgrimages. My name is Stephen White. I'm a second-hand book dealer in Bradford in West Yorkshire. I have 6 children, 7th due to be born in the middle of August. So I'm sort of trying to get as much stuff done now so I can actually maybe think about having a bit of time at home when the baby's due. It's not the best timing for us because we're very busy in the summer with camps, but it's the Lord's timing, so just have to submit to that. So that's what I do. Mike, what about you?
Yeah, so my name's Mike. I'm a teacher of teachers, living in the Black Country. Attend a local evangelical church up the road. Occasionally preach there. Lead the youth. We've actually got the youth round at the moment as we speak. They're
Still in the house.
Still in the house, yeah. Sort of
Okay.
drifting away this evening. Sort of 1 or 2 at a time. They've been here all afternoon.
Nice.
Just to enjoy some time together and eat pizza and ice cream and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a good time. They're a good bunch. So it's been nice to have them around. So we are going to be thinking about elders and the qualifications for elders. We did some definitions last time, Stephen, which we both enjoyed, I think.
I did.
So if anybody wants to go back and check the previous episode, you'll find all our definitions for a lot of the terms that we're going to be using in this episode and in upcoming episodes. So it might be worth your time just if you're a newbie to Strangers and Pilgrims, then it might be worth you going back and having a listen to that. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about elders. So logical place for us to have our reading for this episode is 1 Timothy and chapter 3. So I'm going to be doing the reading. So I'm going to read the first 7 verses of 1 Timothy chapter 3. And this is what the word of God says. This is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behaviour, given to hospitality, apt to teach, not given to wine, no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, not covetous, one that ruleth well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God? Not a novice, lest, being lifted up with pride, he fall into the condemnation of the devil. Moreover, he must have a good report of them which are without, lest he fall into reproach and the snare of the devil.
Thanks, Mike. Yep, it's. I think it's a reasonably well-known passage. I remember it being taught on when we were in Loughborough. It was the time we didn't have a full-time pastor, and we were just working through 1 Timothy, and each speaker was given a different section. And the guy said something like, "For the first time in my life, I'm going to have a 16-point sermon," sort of thing. As he went through this, but I think it's reasonably well known. But I think there's some bits we might as well just clear up, or at least one thing I want to clear up, which we stated in our definitions, but I think it's probably just worth actually showing people the scriptural proof why. Because if you grow up in our circles, you probably are used to the idea of bishop and elder being synonyms, but that's not always the case in every ecclesiastical setup. So here in the first verse it says, if a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work. Then it goes on to give the criteria for a bishop. We said that bishop and elder are used synonymously in the scriptures, and the cross-reference I'd give for that is Titus chapter 1, where Titus is told in verse 5 to ordain elders in every city, as I had appointed thee, if any be blameless, the husband of one wife, having faithful children, not accused of right or unruly, for a bishop must be blameless. So you see, so the start of the elder criteria in Titus is the same as the elder criteria in Timothy, and then he goes on to use the word bishop and elder synonymously. So we're using the word bishop here in 1 Timothy 3 because that's what the text says, but our understanding, well, certainly my understanding, I think Mike's is the same, is that bishop and elder are synonyms, so we don't see them as like one above the other. They're basically sort of describing the same office, but with maybe slightly different emphases.
Spot on, 100% agree. I think that text is pretty conclusive in my mind.
I think so.
That those are the same office.
Yeah. Now, I'll kick it off, Mike.
Yeah, go
Some
for it.
people have an idea, was not have an issue with the word office in
Okay.
verse 1. How do you understand what that means to have an office of a bishop?
Yeah. So we touched on this in the last episode when we were distinguishing between office and gifting. So we said that the Lord gives us all gifts of various sorts in the church, and he places us where he needs us in the church and so on, as members of his body. But within the structures of the church, with the way that the church should run, there are offices which are, I guess, roles would be another way of describing a role that has certain requirements for someone to be appointed to that role, and then they take on that office, or they are appointed to that office by the church, I would say. So whereas gifts are given by God, an office is something that the church recognizes and places a person into an office. So I think that would be a first distinction between office and gifting. So in this case, I think the office of a bishop means the roles and responsibilities to shepherd and lead and kind of almost be a father with a lowercase f to a flock of God's people.
Yeah, so it does, to me, at least I'm going with that, have quite sort of official connotations.
Yeah. Well, that's what the word official means.
Yeah. It's not like some things you either you become something by course of action or events. Like at one point you're not a father. The birth of your child means you are a father. So so that is sort of official and recognized, but it's an organic sort of movement from one to the other. This might have organic elements to it. Men might sort of approach and then sort of almost naturally sort of be recognized as elders, but there should be a formal element
Agreed.
to this for it to be an office.
Agreed. So I don't think you can appoint yourself as an elder, for example. So I think that logic of if eldership or being a bishop is an office, like I was saying, I think it's something that the church has to recognize you for. You can desire it, which is what the verse says, but you don't announce to your local church that you are an elder. It's something that is recognized by the people of God as they discern who it is amongst the number that God has put into positions and has gifted and so on for a particular role. But it's a role, an office, a role to which you can aspire and into which you can be appointed, and the appointment is under God, but by the local church.
Yeah. So would you see like a congregationalist sort of approach? You said the church needs to sort of appoint. How would I know it's sort of slightly off.
Define what you mean by congregationalist first, and then I'll answer the question.
That the church members all have a way of expressing their opinion, and then the church, as once that opinion has all been expressed individually, that consensus or lack thereof is the decision of the church.
I would say to a large extent, yes. I think because you use the word members, and I've got some questions and issues around the way that membership is carried out in evangelical.
I just try to use biblical language.
Yeah. But so in which case, let's go with members. Members of the local church, happy with that. But there is a particular emphasis on the existing elders to appoint other elders. I think that you see that's the pattern that Paul lays out for Timothy and Titus,
that's right,
and then calls them to ordain elders. So I think there is an emphasis on the need for existing elders to recognize and raise up and appoint new elders. a good elder will take advice from the membership of the local assembly. But ultimately, I think the decision should be with my ecclesiologist coming out here, left, right, and centre. I think the eldership are ultimately responsible for calling someone into the position and affording someone the office of elder, with the caveat that they should be mindful of what the church more broadly is already seeing and saying and acknowledging about this particular man, whoever it might be.
Yeah, I think it's good to. Yeah, I think there's sort of various ways of doing these sorts of things, but yeah, I think those big principles are roughly right. I think I would want to allow some exceptional circumstance sort of stuff in there. Time of persecution, all your elders and stuff are being imprisoned and things like that.
Yeah,
I think the church, as they remain, has the authority without those elders to appoint new elders.
Yeah,
and so I agree that it shouldn't be down to one person to say, they're gone, I'm now the new guy.
Right.
But someone's effectively going to have to chair that meeting.
Yeah, sure. I agree. In the normal course of events, it would be the existing eldership kind of co-opting is a bit of a business term, isn't it? But basically saying like this person qualifies, we want you to join us on the eldership, and doing it that way. And then as people who are elders either no longer meet the requirements, or they die, or they're too frail to continue, or what have you, the eldership should be constantly shifting and moving, and new people join, and people leave under, again, natural conditions. But I'd have like a bit of again, like at one end, I'm not advocating like apostolic succession. I don't believe in apostolic succession. So again, the caveat you gave, what if all the elders get put in prison? What happens then? Well, if there's no, they can't ordain the next person, then the church is done. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
But nor do I believe at the other end of the spectrum that any Tom, Dick, or Harry can just turn up and say, I'm Elder Tom.
Yeah.
I'm Elder Dick. I'm Elder Harry.
Yeah.
Recognise me.
Yeah.
I don't think that's legitimate either. So again, organic is a good word that you used. Generally speaking, I think a discerning church, and certainly a discerning eldership, are able to recognise, for the most part, that there is someone amongst the number who fits the bill.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would also want to have some leeway, especially in smaller churches, for the members of the church to bring some sort of appeal against elders, because you do sometimes get instances where, like, if the elders are very close friends or related to each other, that certain sins should be disqualifying sins are just not addressed and not brought, and in that, even though the elders are given to rule and take care of the church and those sorts of things, I think the church as a body still has authority. It doesn't need those elders to have authority. That's the normal, healthy ordering of the authority. But the church has authority, and I think there could be times when the church could say, actually, we don't think you're fit to be elders anymore, or that sort of thing. But again, ordinarily, in a healthy church, that shouldn't happen.
Right.
I think there is a bit of a tendency to either think things are so organic that you don't need anything to be official, or because this is an office, we make like policy decisions and that's enough. And I don't think either is sufficient. I think there needs to be an organic nature to the life of the church. That means people know other people, and it shouldn't be a real surprise when Brother So-and-so is proposed to be an elder, and the elders say, we've thought it through, we've prayed it through, we think it's the right decision. We're going to ratify it in a couple of weeks. Come and speak to us if you've got any issues. Like, it shouldn't be that half the church is banging on the door to say, what the heck are you doing? So that's an organic element that needs to be there. But there does seem to often be the case that once someone is in, it's like the organic element just stops. They are in, and you mentioned like no longer qualify, too frail to carry on or die.
Yeah.
Sometimes only death is what stops people from being elders when they should have practically stopped, when they practically did stop functioning as an elder a long time before that, either through disqualification or through just the ordinary course of aging. And I think that's a problem as well. So we need, it needs to be organic, it needs to be sort of relationally based. So because these are, even though they're elders, they're first of all members of the church, and we're members one of another. So there should be an organic membership with Christ as the head. But since this is official, we need the official statement. Like, you need to know who your elders are.
Yeah.
Like, someone, if someone's at a church, they shouldn't be there for years before they really know. Or you have to sort of figure out sort of, they're sort of an elder, or that sort of thing.
I was talking to somebody at my church a couple of weeks ago, and I said to him, he thought I was a bit mad. I said to him, I would be in favour of having the elders sat at the front, facing the congregation in
12 chairs. Like,
if there's 12 of them,
ruling the 12 tribes of Israel.
If there's 14 of them, that would be weird. Have them in 12 chairs. But yeah, I would. Okay. I'd be okay with that. Maybe not throughout the whole service, but maybe, for the first part of the service, so it's visible. These are the elders. These are the people that we believe, as the local assembly, that God has put in place, who He has gifted where gifting is necessary, which we'll come to. But we, as a body of Christ's people, we believe that these men are our leaders. We believe that they have been placed in the body, in this location, to lead us under God. And like you're saying, you should know who they are. It shouldn't take months and months and months for you to work out who's actually who the elders are at the church. So I'd sit them at the front.
That's an interesting idea. I guess I've not really thought of that setup before.
It's not that uncommon. It's not that uncommon.
It's not.
It's very uncommon in evangelicalism.
With the seats up at the front.
Yeah.
I think Dudley Baptist Church, in the old format before they revamped it, I think they had seats up there.
Yeah.
So I've been there. It just, I guess, and actually at Orton Park where we were, I think they would have at the Lord's Supper, the elders and deacons would all go and sit behind the table.
Happy with that. Yeah.
So, but then what used to happen then is that they were the people that gave thanks for the bread and the wine. And that for me, that's a bit more what I'm after.
Right.
I'm not after sort of the token faces at the front. If they are the elders, I want them to lead.
Correct.
And leading doesn't just mean sitting at the front so everyone knows your face. So having your elders regularly pray, read the scripture. It might not always be preached, because you might well have employed full-time preachers, that sort of thing at these churches. But having your elders in a recognised, regular pattern of ministry to the body, and formally recognised. So Elder Tony is going to come up and read our scriptures. And if they're the elder for something in particular, then that's a good opportunity. Elder Tony, who is often doing the children's work, is going to come up and say he's particularly focused on the children, but you all need to know he's an elder of the church. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather. I'm not against the sitting at the front, but I'd want them to be.
Well, it wouldn't be the only thing I ask my elders to do.
No, I know, and I just. So two problems. Two things with that is it can be either tokenistic, and there can be a pride element.
Of course.
Which would lead people to want the office for the wrong reasons, which is something
I think that's already there though.
Warned
with or without the chairs.
Yeah, you're probably right. Like, being seen matters to some people more than others. It's fun. So a friend of mine and my brother-in-law were talking about like what their version of hell would be, and one of them said it would be me on a stage with nobody listening to me, and my brother-in-law said it would be me on a stage with everybody listening to me.
Right.
So I'm not saying it's going to put some people off actually, be it having the seat at the front. But for some people, it would really appeal. But you're probably right that it's not the be all and end all.
No.
But yeah,
No.
elders should be known, recognised, and functioning.
Yeah.
In the local church, and that's what we're after. These other things, if they're helpful means to get to those ends,
Correct. Yeah.
great. But they should be known and functioning in the local church. So that's really sort of a bit of an overview of some of the ephemeral stuff around it. Not ephemeral, just sort of the outside stuff. Should we go through some of these qualifications then? Because it's quite a hefty list.
Yeah.
And like we say, some things organically happen to you. You become a man just through the process of age. You become a father through the process of biology. Sometimes it feels like there should be some sort of test. Some of those, especially where I live.
Yeah.
but there isn't. Okay.
Yeah.
But there are requirements here.
Yeah.
And quite stringent requirements as well. And I think a good sort of heading for it is that if you're a man, all the things that are laid out here, even if you don't meet them all, and even if you never meet them all, are good aspirational things for the Christian man to work towards.
Yeah,
agreed. So that's why this isn't just a passage of like, oh, I'm 17. I'm not really thinking about being an elder. I can switch off. That's not the impression here. It's not even I'm a woman. This doesn't apply to me. I can switch off. These are the kind of virtues you're to be looking for in a man if you're not married. Kind of virtues you're to be praying for your husband to have. If you are married, kind of things you want to be raising in your children. If they're men, like so, and a lot of them go sort of. You read the Titus injunctions to women, and you'll see gravity in all of them, that sort of thing. So some of them go across the board, but these are good things, and people need to not just think, oh, they're just for them. They're just for this sort of super class of Christians, the super spiritual Christians. It's not for me. No, these are helpful to aspire to. On the whole. For everyone, even though some of them might not be attainable for each person.
So in that case, then, here's a question just as we get into it.
Yeah.
If all of these things are things that all Christians should be striving towards, are we therefore saying that the way that the passage is written, in order to be a bishop, to meet the requirements for the office, you must meet all of the requirements without exception? Is that the distinction that we're making?
That's how I understand it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there would be, because it does read somewhat like a checklist, doesn't it? A tick list. And I think that's intentional.
Yeah.
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 Because each of these things, again, as we get into them, each of these things has ramifications of all sorts, and they are evidence of other things, other elements of a man's character. Some of these things are evidence of aspects of that man's character that are not necessarily written down, but have to be there in order for these things to be the case.
Yeah.
So are we saying? I'm saying. I just want to check if you're saying. I'm saying that if you meet all but one of the criteria, you don't meet the criteria.
That's exactly what I think.
Agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would also then say if you start to if you are an elder and you start to fail at one of the criteria, that doesn't automatically disqualify you, but it should be immediate cause for concern.
Okay.
So just in case I forget to say that later,
you
might want to come back to me on why I think that later. But yeah, so I would say if someone is nominated or proposed to be an elder, and you're not an elder, you're just told in the congregation, and you go home and you should read this passage, and you think, is brother so and so blameless, husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior? You should be able to go through it, and if there's anything that isn't ticked, you should pray about it and think about it. And now it's possible you might go to the elders and you might say, I'm not entirely sure this brother is hospitable because he's never had me round. And they might say, well, actually, there's a couple of people who've got very severe needs that you wouldn't know about. And for years, they've looked after them and that sort of thing. So that it doesn't have. Now, most of these are open virtues. But there might be things that you've missed.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to bear that in mind. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think a check is basically a checklist. Because the elder is to be, if we 1 Peter 5 uses elder. Again, Peter says, I'm an elder. I'm talking to you elders. And the language is that of shepherding again. And the great shepherd is Jesus Christ. And the elders are to shepherd under him. And Jesus wants his flock shepherded by people who are like him. Mm-hmm. Now, not perfectly like him, because I don't believe in entire sanctification. But enough like him that it's not too jarring for the people to follow them.
Right.
And so this is a list which will help you ensure that the men you pick are Christ-like in the right areas. And there are certain things that are not mentioned here, and we cannot make them, I don't think, criteria. If a man meets all of these, he is eligible to be to be an elder. And if he doesn't meet them all, he shouldn't be made an elder. Mm-hmm. But that's not saying the guy's a waste of space. Mm-hmm. It might just be that he's, well, I'm sure we'll get on to some of these. He might meet basically all of them, but not be married. Mm-hmm. He might meet all of them and not be able to teach. He might meet all of them and have only been saved 9 months ago. Mm-hmm. So there are things which are fixable, things which are not fixable, but it doesn't mean that all of this aspiration was a waste of time because you fail on one point. Because every single thing you have on here is a good and godly virtue that is worth pursuing in its own right.
Right.
And I think this is one of the things that some people, because it says, if you desire the office of a bishop, you desire a good work. And some people fix their eyes on that as like a goal, like a business goal, I want to be CFO or CEO. Like that's my goal. What do I need to get there? I need to do this. Yeah. And they treat it as like a legalistic sort of, if I tick all the boxes, then, but this is a good work. And if you want to do the good work, you need to develop the good virtues, and developing each of these virtues is worthwhile on its own.
Agreed.
If you just develop sobriety and you don't meet all the rest of the criteria, that will have been work that was worthwhile in the kingdom of Christ, because that is something that Christ can use to his glory in you and in other people. So I don't want to denigrate men who don't reach all of these criteria in the slightest. Mm-hmm. But I want to say all of these criteria are worth aiming for.
Yeah. And also, I agree. I also don't want to denigrate anybody who doesn't meet all these criteria. So, for example, somebody who meets all those criteria but is not married can do great work for the Lord.
Absolutely,
in all sorts of ways. Can be godly and helpful, and an excellent Christian man. Yeah. But not an elder.
Yeah, and I think 1 Corinthians 7 teaches us that man, and this the converse would apply to him, but in our context, that man can do some things that the elder cannot do, because if the elder is to be married, then he also has a duty to his wife,
right,
which he cannot neglect because it is God-given and a criteria for his office. Whereas the unmarried man doesn't have to care for the things of this world, how he may please his wife.
Yeah.
So he's able to devote more time to certain things. So even though all of these are good aspirational things, just because he's not married doesn't mean, he can't do as much for the Lord. He might be able to do more of something
for
the Lord, but it's a different thing than being an elder. And we need to not see that as a pitting them against one against the other, in my mind. And so I remember preaching on Titus a number of years ago. And so I went through the criteria, and I said, I think someone should meet all of these criteria, including married, children, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And someone said, well, that's quite limiting, isn't it? And then the reply was, not from it, it's like, well, you already think that it should be limited to only half the membership anyway.
Mm.
And they're like, oh, yeah, that's a good point. We're already saying all women need not apply.
Yeah.
So what we're going to have? No women can apply, but we'll accept any guy. That's like the dumbest thing in the world ever. Just like as though the reason we can ignore all of those is because they have no value and every man ranks above everyone. Now that's not the thinking here. It's this person has to meet all these criteria to do what God wants them to do. It is quite a limiting set of criteria, but necessarily so.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I would say. It's necessarily, deliberately so.
Yeah.
Because it's a weighty responsibility.
Yeah.
I just turned to James 3:1.
Yeah.
My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation.
Yeah.
Those who kind of want to get themselves into positions of responsibility for the sake of their own ego are liable to come under greater condemnation for that kind of abuse of their power, I guess.
Yeah.
Abuse of their capacities. Having sharp elbows, nudging other people out of the way to climb the ecclesiastical ladder as they see it.
Yeah.
Trying to get to the top of the tree.
Yeah, and I think some of the issues we see in churches is that there are men who desire power and influence and authority, and these criteria, rightly applied, would actually have limited them.
Yeah.
In getting there, or as I often say, it was too early to tell.
Right.
So you took a gamble, and sometimes it paid off, and sometimes it didn't. But you shouldn't have taken the gamble because the scriptures have given you criteria.
Right.
And so the fact that you can point to someone and say, well, Pastor so-and-so became
Spurgeon,
elder.
classic example.
Say again?
A Spurgeon would be the classic example.
Oh, okay, right.
Pastor in his early 20s, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, it was. I mean, we
elder of his church.
We could discuss what novice means as well, when we get to that bit. But yeah, you're very young, unmarried, no, or just like not had a chance to exercise some of these gifts.
Yeah.
And so we're like, but we know them; they'll be fine. And sometimes they are fine, because some of these are wonderfully godly men and they handle. But then other times it allows people to get in who really shouldn't have been welcomed in.
Yeah.
And you see the mess and the fallout.
That's right.
From it. So they really do matter. And you'll be doing the church a favour if you put them all into practice.
That's right.
I think what people sometimes think is, but we'll upset brother so-and-so. Or what they really mean is, we'll upset brother so-and-so's wife if we say no to him, or he's been here long enough, shouldn't we sort of ask him to be an elder?
Yeah.
It's a bit awkward to not ask him to be an elder. And even though the man who is qualified has desire in him, he wants to be useful to God in this good work, and so works towards that end. A good man, I think, on the whole, will have the patience to cope with being overlooked, because that's basically a summary of these sorts of virtues. A man that will not strike out, who is not greedy of lucre, who is not covetous, who is not a novice, will be able to cope with being passed over, even if he should be an elder, even if it would make God happy to make him an elder, and he's not. He'll be able to cope with that. It's sort of a sign, like, I wouldn't say like always sort of knock them back the first time, like, sort of thing, but like it wouldn't hurt.
Like dating advice.
Yeah. I wouldn't know any about it's a distant past for me. Something like that.
Yeah.
Isn't going to be a problem to a godly man.
Yeah.
So if someone gets their nose really out of joint because they haven't been asked to be an elder and they've been in the church for 3 years, they're basically proving that they're not not qualified to be an elder.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So just as we move on then,
Yeah.
so verse 1, chapter 3, verse 1, this is true saying if a man. So just to
Oh
be
yeah.
really clear,
Yeah. Yeah.
the office of bishop, the office of elder is restricted to men.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And Scripture couldn't be any clearer on that.
It couldn't.
If you want it to be different, that's on you. Like, just don't say you believe the Bible. Don't say you're following the Bible. It's just clear.
Yeah.
It couldn't be any clearer.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, thank you. So, if a man desire the office of a bishop, we've talked about what office means. He desireth a good work. A bishop then must be blameless.
Yep.
What do we understand by blameless? Clearly, it doesn't mean sinless.
Easy box to tick. Yeah. Yeah.
Why blameless first? Why is that first on the list? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I would say blameless would be to have no sort of open accusations against them.
Right.
Because this is going to be the first thing that people think of. Like, if it's like, oh, brother so-and-so, and you're like, oh, brother so-and-so who's just...
The shoplifting guy.
Yeah. Or the drunk. Or the guy who's currently suspended from work for such and such a reason. Now, that might not be permanently disqualifying because they might conclude the investigation and it's like, oh, it's actually the guy next door in the next office or whatever. Like we know people who've the whole household has been arrested and actually only one person was guilty of the offence, but the police couldn't tell at the time. Now, if one of those guys was up for sort of being proposed as an elder, it would be wise to postpone that. And just say, like, we're just going to wait. He's not blameless at the moment. He's not blamed either in that instance. But we will wait until this comes out. And in that case, it would have all come out. And it's actually, no, it's fine. We can move on. But yeah, so I would say.
Do you think there's a civil component then, a civil law component in that, where if somebody who has been accused of a crime in society broadly, and found guilty by a jury of his peers, is that it for him? Well, 20 years ago, this guy, he was professing to be a Christian at the time, and he stole a car and he joyrode it down the road, wrapped it around a tree. He survived. He, did a bit of time for it, but not too long, and he's out now. And that was 20 years ago. Is that man blameless?
He could be.
Right.
I think so. I don't. It's almost like the sort of could be a statute of limitations on it.
Okay.
In this, but also I would want to say it depends on the crime, and it depends whether that's a biblically just crime.
Okay.
So if someone, for example, it's easy to think of examples in other countries, but like I would say if someone was arrested and charged for homophobia because they preached against the sin of homosexuality,
right? Even
though they've got a criminal record, that doesn't stop them from being blameless.
Yeah,
because we need biblical definitions. But also, then there is a space. I think there is a space for a change and a reformed life, because that's what we're saying, is that you can start from not qualifying and get to qualifying.
Yeah.
But the guy who wrapped his car around a tree 3 weeks ago because he was off his head on speed doesn't qualify because he's being clean for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
he's not blameless.
Okay.
At this point, so yeah, it's. I try not to be too like this, but it sort of just makes sense. Like, if everyone's like, "Whoa," aren't they a bit dodgy still? But then, like, if he talks, and so like, here's a good example. I think I can talk about this freely because he's very public about it. My old pastor at Orton Park Baptist Church was Billy McCurry, and last Saturday or Saturday before, he came to our church in Bradford to do a brunch, and he didn't know we were going to be there, so it was really nice to see him and surprise him. And he was talking about his past and his journey to faith, and then his life. Now, I got to know Billy when I was about sort of 15, 14, 15, came to be the pastor of our church in South Lancashire. He was a lovely friend, sort of great preacher. He could be
Mm.
he could be straight down the line and no nonsense, but as a man, he was warm and friendly and enjoyable to be with, and a laugh and all those sorts of things. And I couldn't believe you hear little bits about it, but I couldn't believe it when I heard that he was in jail for murder.
Yeah.
Like, and he was saved in prison
Yeah.
because there was such a complete change between the life that he had, and he talked about this, like, consumed by bitterness and resentment, and because his father had been killed in the Troubles, and that just sent him down a whole path of hate and recrimination, which ended up in him killing someone else. And then he was caught, and he said, by the mercy of God, he was caught, sent to prison. He was saved in prison.
Yeah.
And then over years, he then, like, the Lord worked in him, changed him, went to Bible college, all that, and then did all that, and then came to us as a man. And you could say, well, in some ways, he's not blameless because he'd done something very wrong. But the state has no more claim on him,
right?
Because he was 17, I think, at the time, so it was classed as a juvenile case. So he served his time. They said, you're reformed, you can go.
Yeah.
And there was enough life lived to see a consistency and no accusations of anything like that in that period. It sort of makes sense.
Sure.
You don't need to be raking up the distant past when, like, the recent knowable, demonstrable past is saying a very different story.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that is sufficient for you, like, if you want to add or change or.
Yeah, I think it is. I think the fact that you have the front end of the list, you've got blameless in it. The back end of the list is having a good report of them which are without. Might suggest to me that the blameless is predominantly related to his kind of his Christian life.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
How the church sees him. You know, has he, you know, is he sharp tongued with the little children? Does he badmouth the old men? You know, those sorts of things within the context of the local church.
Yeah.
I can't be hard and fast about that. It just feels like otherwise we're saying the same thing twice. That blameless means with regard to his kind of Christian life within the church, and then the last part is his report of them that are without, so those outside of the church, what they think of him as well. So I think we're trying to cover both of those things with those two ideas.
And the blamelessness will probably have some overlap between,
without a doubt,
in my understanding, between the, if you like, the civil and the church. And like we said, there's times when the civil might bring something and the whole church thinks it's not a thing at all. We can ignore it.
Exactly.
But there are just the fact that you don't have a civil penalty against you doesn't mean you qualify. As being blameless. In this instance. So what I'm going to say, Mike, is that we've done a fairly good introduction. We're going to hit one of the more controversial ones. Next. I think we should maybe wrap this episode up and then start with why we're so hateful and bigoted to say that elders have to be married men and married to just one woman. Is that reasonable place to cut?
That's a great place to stop. Let's pick up next time and hit the ground running.
It might not take us long, but it's the kind of thing that people will get their knickers in a twist about. So we should probably pause there.
Amazing.
So I don't think we've got any correspondence or anything from the last episode.
Not from the last one. Other than that, it was relatively well received, I think.
Okay, good.
Which is good. Yeah,
right. Well then, hopefully this is well received, and you can tell everyone in your church to listen to it because they all want to be biblical and follow these criteria. So that'll be good. And Mike, you wrap up for us.
Grace be with all them that love our Lord Jesus Christ in sincerity. Amen.
Amen.